Red 5, standing by. Simply Red, standing by. Red Fox, standing by. Red October, standing by. Assalamu alaikum. I got my Mellow Yellow Zero. I got a free soda machine here. It's pretty wicked awesome. So YouTube is making changes again. I got an email just now, and we kind of saw this coming because we saw the change that happened to the UI. I think it was about a day ago, and there's a button that they added where you could say whether your video is made for kids or not, but they didn't really explain anything. So then they send an email. Great way to manage your users, by the way. Roll out a product change, wait at least a day, then tell your users what the product change is. Fantastic plan here. So here's the letter from YouTube. I can copy paste it into, I'll go ahead and open up my my own channel here, and then I can copy paste it directly into the description there on the, oh, shut up. All right, isn't that a lovely kid right there? He looks like he's super easy to get along with. Okay, so I'm going to copy paste this right over here so you can see the actual text. There it goes. It is in the comments. So basically, what it's saying is, starting today, all creators are required to tell us if their content is made for kids. Okay, sounds like a trick question. It sounds like I could fuck myself real badly one way or the other. That this sounds like the sort of thing where there's a right answer and a wrong answer, but YouTube isn't going to tell you what the right answer is, so we kind of have to guess. They're a little bit more transparent than I expected, though. I'm not going to read you this whole thing, but if I scroll through here a little bit to blah, 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 the federal government made us do it, blah, blah, blah. We know these changes won't be easy for some creators. Yeah, I'm sure of it. Especially all those toy unboxing videos. So basically, starting in January, we will limit the data we collect on made for kids videos to comply with the law. Basically, the US government wasn't real happy with YouTube spying on children and using data collected from minors without their consent or their parents' consent to advertise to minors. I'm not a big fan of federal regulation and all of that, and pretty much anytime there's a problem, the government can certainly step in and make it worse. But it's unsurprising that the Federal Trade Commission had a problem with the way YouTube was doing things. You have to do things with kids substantially differently. Duh. But according to this, they will limit the data they collect on made for kids videos to comply with the law. This means we will disable personalized ads on the content, which affects revenue for creators making content for kids, as well as certain features like comments, notifications, and others. Oh, so it sounds like you may not be able to have comments on made for kid videos because reasons. The main takeaway here, though, is that made for kids videos seem like they're going to get a lot less advertising, a lot less revenue. That may not be a bad thing. So my initial thought was that, oh, well, I'll probably want to say that my videos are made for kids because I thought it was about like a content thing, like is this unsafe sort of thing, but it looks like it's kind of going the other direction. Looks like if this is to be believed, they will advertise less on made for kids videos. And if they're advertising less on made for kids videos, then the people making those videos will make less money, but also those videos won't be promoted as much. Right now, YouTube is kind of a mess of like just a whole shit ton of like completely inane drivel that's made for kids. These, I jokingly referred to earlier, these toy unboxing videos, which if you haven't seen that, it's a thing, and it's annoying, and oh, it's so awful. It dilutes the content that's on YouTube. And I suppose you could say that about anything, about some fat bald guy whining about YouTube policies in his office on his lunch break. But the kid videos are not my kind of thing. They take essentially no skill to make, but they're incredibly popular. They point a camera at a thing. One of the things that's really popular is opening these serialized toys where there's like a little box, a little mystery box that has a thing inside of it, and you open it up, and maybe it's a pink one, or maybe it's a purple one, or whatever. Like, people watch the shit out of them. But if those are going to get less ads, then they won't be recommended as much, unless YouTube changes their algorithms again. And I mean, they've been lying for forever and saying that reduced advertising doesn't affect your recommendations and whatnot, but that's a bunch of bullshit, and it's verifiably. I did it again. I left this shit on. Hang on. Yeah. How unprofessional. All right. Stop with that shit. Fucking retard. Yeah, I'm made for kids. So, if they're getting less advertising, then that means that they're not going to get promoted as much, which hopefully will do a little bit to clean up the content on YouTube, as it were. Hopefully, we'll see a lot less of the stupid, empty-headed bullshit that fills up YouTube because it's easy money. Hopefully. But every time I hope that something will end up being better in this weird, fucked up cyberpunk dystopian future that we live in, I end up being wrong. Why? I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but I should read what YouTube considers made for kids. It is directed to children as the primary audience. Example would be videos for preschoolers. It is directed to children, but children. It is directed to children, but children are a secondary audience. Example, cartoon video that primarily targets teenagers, but is also intended for younger kids. Okay, so that doesn't really tell us fuck all. It's made for kids. It's made for kids is basically what they said. It's made for kids if it's made for kids. Did you fucking hear me? One of these days, YouTube, one way or another, whether it's through market pressure or laws or lawsuits, like the slingshot guy is just shoving IG metal right up their ass. Way up inside, Morty. Get it way up inside of there. I want to take that opinion of yours, and I want you to shove it way up inside of your ass. One of these days, YouTube is going to be forced to define what they mean and have transparent policies that apply to everyone. And whether that happens because they get sued into it, or laws are passed, or the market just passes them by, who knows? Let me check in with these comments here to see if there's something I need to address before I get off. I taped my kids' eyes open and made them watch the kiddie pool and whiskey video because freedom. You're a bad person. You're a very bad person. Got conned into buying 300 blackout. I shouldn't be trusted to vote. Yeah, I saw your Instagram photos about the 300 blackout thing. I have not tried making 300 blackout brass from 223 brass. I don't think I will, because it sounds like a pain in the ass, and I don't care about 300 blackout enough to bother making brass for it. Maybe I'll probably eventually someday, when I have some spare time, I'll probably load up a couple thousand 110 grain SSTs and be done with it, because 300 blackout is kind of dumb. It's it doesn't do anything nearly as well as 5.56 or 7.62 by 39 does it. It's just kind of shit. Bro, I met a guy a couple months ago who said his father-in-law makes like $600,000 a year making sock puppet videos. It made me hate my life decisions. No shit, dude. Look around you, and you see every day we stray farther and farther from God. And people like Nicki Minaj can make a very comfortable living raping and stealing and making shitty music. And people like PewDiePie can be on the very tippy top of this YouTube thing for playing video games and screaming like a girl. Not that I've got anything against him, but it's holy shit. Like, he doesn't. What's funny is that, like, even now that he's like making a fuck ton of money at it, he's never bothered to put any sort of professional investment into his craft. He hasn't developed at all. He hasn't created more compel. Nope. Just kidding. I mean, I guess if it ain't fixed, don't broke it. Quit poking us. I'll poke whoever I want. The other day I watched a video from a young man that has 250,000 subs, and he tools around his neighborhood unclogging road drains. See, and I would say, how? Why? But I mean, you just said that you watched it. So I guess somebody's interested. Unboxing video of my mailbox. I'll just have to add out my name. Yeah. You got to be careful about what kind of boxes are kid safe. Yeah, I get that stupid drain unclogged stuff all the time too, but usually it involves a, oh, I left my purse at the office. Surely there must be some way for me to pay for your services. Plumber. Porn. It's a joke. 300 blackout is fantastic for destroying 5.56. Yeah, I can see that. Well, 50 stitches. You're going to have to defend that somehow, but not right. Hey, I got this idea for a series that I want to do with a friend of mine. Hopefully I can introduce you to him this weekend. My buddy Seth has worked at pawn shops for years, and he's a fucking character. Like, he has such great stories, and he's just a blast to hang out with. He's one of those dudes where you just sit there and drink and like watch him talk because he's fun. But well, Ellen, you didn't say anything useful. I'm sorry. You said oof, haha, ooh, a hard R. Sir, yes, sir. I jured you, Sergeant. So I mean, I'm sorry that I skipped that Paramount content there. So anyway, Seth worked at a pawn shop for a while. He's got some tales from the pawn shop that I think I'd like to do, and I think I also want to start doing some fireside chats with him. What I'd like to do is have you guys suggest ideas for common gun guy arguments, like shotgun versus AR for home defense, 9mm versus 45, all those like really cliche things that we've hammered out so many times in the forums and whatnot. I'll post on if you guys aren't following, I make posts to the community tab on my channel from time to time. I do the Instagram thing, do the Facebook thing. Although Facebook is just such a steaming pile of shit, it just doesn't work well. But I'll keep doing that. But I'll post a thread, and you guys can suggest topics, and then we'll grab a topic out of there, and we'll flip a coin, and like he'll have to defend one side, and I'll have to defend the other side, and I'm not sure if it'll play better if we allow some preparation beforehand, or if we have to do it like all off the cuff. Because it might be amusing to you folks to watch us struggle to come up with an argument immediately. But the idea would be that we have to choose a side, not choose a side, be assigned a side and then defend it. Get back to work. You ain't the boss of me. Twilight Zone versus Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, pretty much. But with more meth. Addicts, lover quarrels, thieves, police incidents, those stores. Yeah. Yeah, I'll put it on Discord. Although I don't check on that very often. I'm a bad person. Please test 300 blackout ammo on sound. I'm particularly interested in the windshield test. I theorize the barrier penetration may be the one and only advantage 300 blackout may have over 5.56. It's in the queue. I will get to it. Still trying to figure out the best SBR 223 round for home defense. Leaning towards a heavy TMK. I would skip the 77 grain TMK for short barrel home defense right now. I don't think it's published yet, so I don't want to give too many spoilers. But I tested. Oh, for short barrel. Sorry, no. I tested 77 grain TMK from a 20-inch, and that was not stellar. That'll be up on ARFCOM eventually. This week on Friday, it's going to be IMI 77 grain SMK, the Sierra Match King. So the Mark 262 clone. That's from a 10.5-inch barrel, and that did well, predictably. But got some really good high-speed video of that, and that'll be up on Friday. For the 10.5, for a short barrel home defense load, what's in mine right now is 50 grain TSX. I would feel really confident with 50 grain TSX, 55 grain GMX, 62 grain Fusion, 64 grain Gold Dot, 62 grain Trophy Bonded Bear Claw, or 77 grain TMK or 77 grain SMK. I lean toward the expanding bullets because barrier performance mainly, but any one of those are going to be real solid, and they're going to put dicks in the dirt. Well, hello, Jason. 12 gauge Federal PD 132 Flight Control 9 pellet 00 buck is a stellar home defense round. Well, stellar if you mean like shooting it out of an antique shotgun, I guess. I mean, shotguns are fucking retarded. But look, if you need to shoot little birds out of the air or big birds off of the ground, shotguns are great for that. If you need to open a door, they're great for that. If you have an overwhelming desire to turn little orange discs into clouds of orange dust, shotguns are great for that too. But, well, Josh, it's only weird if you touch yourself. Shotguns are objectively less well suited for defensive purposes than rifles. Now, don't get me wrong, a 12 gauge shotgun is a whole hell of a lot better choice for home defense than any pistol. Any actual pistol, not like the brace pistol. Like, in practical terms, obviously, an AR with a brace it's essentially a rifle. It's only legally a pistol. So when I say that a shotgun is better than any pistol, I mean better than any actual real pistol. But yes, rifles are objectively better than shotguns. And the only reason that you would want a shotgun for home defense is, one, that's the thing that you happen to have. That's what you have. Or you got like $200 to spend and you cannot, will not, refuse to, whatever, spend any more than that ever. or you have $200 to spend and you need something effective for home defense right fucking now, and maybe later on you can get a carbine and whatever. Or you have a whole hell of a lot of muscle memory on this particular shotgun, and it would take you a long time to get up to speed with a carbine. Now that last and several of those excuses are really just short-term excuses. They're a reason to have a shotgun in the short term because it's, again, a whole lot better than a handgun. But it doesn't excuse you from like your responsibility for maintaining an effective, the most effective home defense tool that you can. And your responsibility is to get set up, and train with, learn a carbine. There just isn't any other way around it. None of my business. I don't know, and if I did, I wouldn't out somebody. I mean, that's shitty. Like, let me tell you something. Whether somebody's gay or lesbian or whatever, on wherever they're at, don't go around asking other people. Ask them or not. Or I really don't give a fuck who people fuck. Who you bump your naughty bits against is none of my business. But if you're really that interested in it, I'd say ask them. Where were we? Watching you in the shower. Yeah, we got that one. Hello, fellow children. Well, hello, children. Shooting big bird. Well, I meant big birds like, a turkey. Best round for home defense. Anything that goes boom is reliable. I mean, no. No. Holds 9. That's a lot of copper plated lead. Yeah. All right. Well, my AR holds 30, and that's a lot more copper plated lead. I have kids and neighbors. I don't use a shotgun for home defense. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Snot everywhere. Why does M855A1 perform really well at sub 2,000 foot per second when rifle performance doesn't begin until... Okay. So the question is, why does M855A1 perform really well at sub 2,000 foot per second when rifle performance doesn't begin until 2,200 feet per second, whatever. I think you're getting that 2,200 feet per second from that federal rep that was in that Lucky Gunner video. I don't know why he latched onto that figure. Dr. Fackler popularized this idea that at around in the neighborhood of 2,000 feet per second or so, the size of a temporary stretch cavity exceeds the elastic limit of tissue. But this idea that 2,000 feet per second is some sort of magical phase line that you cross that line and it turns into a bomb and blows people the fuck up. It doesn't work that way. Depending on a lot of other factors, depending on the projectile's shape, the diameter of it, how much frontal area it is presenting to the tissue, the mass of it, the sectional density, depending on a lot of factors, in addition to velocity, and probably mostly velocity, at a certain point, the size of the temporary stretch cavity, and if you watch some of the high-speed videos on AR15.com, TFB TV, you've seen Brass Fetcher's stuff. He does phenomenal high speed of gel impacts. And you can clearly see the size of temporary stretch cavity from, say, a 45 230 grain gold dot is just a fraction of the size of the temporary stretch cavity that you see from 62 grain bear claw, 223. It's just profoundly different. And that's where we get the rifles are rifles and pistols are pistols thing. That at a certain point, as the temporary stretch cavity is expanding, it moves past the amount that human tissue can stretch, and then eventually it tears, and that causes permanent wounding. that line, that speed that happens at varies depending on the projectile and how much surface area it's able to present and all that sort of thing. So I think your question is kind of it's kind of off the mark, because the premise that 2,000 foot per second is some magic line isn't necessarily correct. Now, also, there's a lot of hyperbole out there about M855. Well, there's a lot of hyperbole out there about ammo in general, but especially for M855A1. Um, it's great ammo. It's fucking amazing. It does shit that no other 5.56 can do. But it's not a magic wand. As range increases, as velocity decreases, of course, performance is going to be reduced. There's no getting around that either. AR greater than AK, that is correct. I have taken classes with my semi. It was a big learning curve. Well, yeah, I can imagine. Shotguns in general are just not very ergonomic, and the semi-auto shotguns are so fucking complicated and weird, like some weird shit going on there. Is Wolf Gold still susceptible to differences in neck length due to yaw angle at impact as M193 and M855 typically are? So the mechanism's the same. The bullet's fragmenting, and yes, the angle of attack at impact can influence how quickly the bullet breaks up. That's true for any bullet ever. Also true for bullets that do not fragment but rely solely on wounding. Again, the angle of impact, the angle of attack at impact is going to determine the neck length to some extent. Okay, this is pretty, but if I ever face a home invasion and happen to survive, I can't have the popo taking my high dollar AR to storage for a year. Okay, I hear that a lot. Maybe I won't mutter it this time. Okay, this is petty, but if I ever face a home invasion and happen to survive, I can't have the popo taking my high dollar AR to storage for a year. I think we're doing all of these topics that I had suggested earlier for the for the arguments. I think you're just trying to draw me into doing that right now. Isn't Wolf Gold just an M193 load? Yes, Wolf Gold is Taiwanese, I think. It's technically not M193. It's made by the same company that makes ammunition for the Taiwanese military, and it's made to M193 spec. So it's M193-ish. And a lot of people report better than M193 in that it is producing better accuracy for a lot of people. I can't comment on that because I can't shoot worth a shit. You could test 357 mag Fort Scott TUI against 3A Kevlar and 3A helmets. It would be interesting to see what the minimum barrel length is for penetration. That's an interesting idea. But the Fort Scott 9mm solid copper, whatever they want to call it, thing, that perforates level 3A soft armor. So, or at least an IBA groin protector, which is essentially level 3A. So I'm sure the 357 mag ought to do it pretty well out of even a really short barrel. And it's also, it's hard to get hold of helmets for testing. They're a lot more expensive, and there aren't nearly as many companies making them and selling them. So I got soft armor panels coming out my ass, but not any helmets that I'm willing to test. Man, I'm having a hard time keeping up with all these. I thought I was going to be done here. 9 times 9 equals 81. Oh, we're doing fucking math on like pellets and shit. Okay, yeah, all right. Because 32 caliber lead pellet is remotely
comparable to a 5.56 round. Let's be real here. Most people talking about home defense are not operators or spies waiting on their house to get ambushed. Most home defense scenarios are going to be thieves. Who fucking cares? Most most home defense scenarios are going to be a person who wants to harm another person. That's all that matters. The only thing that matters is that there is a human being there who, or an animal, is trying to cause you harm, and you have to cause enough damage to their body that they're not able to cause you harm. And the best, most efficient way to do that is with the carbine. All I know is I shot a hyena with M855A1 in Africa, and it dropped without another twitch. I mean, that's called an anecdote. I appreciate it, but for all you know, you got you got a hit on the spine or brain, and maybe that would have happened with M855. You know. At that point, you just wow, so many fucking comments. What's going on today? Can you explain the concept of fleet yaw? I will do my best. I don't have my head around it completely. I don't really understand why it's called fleet yaw, but as I understand it, so as a bullet flies through the air, it's spinning, and it's not necessarily pointed in the direction that it's moving. It could be, it is exaggerated, but it could be, say, like this, right? And it's spinning around its own axis, not around the axis of flight. That's yaw. The difference in angle between the axis that runs through the center of the bullet and the path that it's on is yaw. In addition to that yaw, there's gyroscopic precession, which is where a spinning object does that thing that tops do just before they fall over, where it's spinning, but it's also doing that bit. So that changes the yaw angle variably as it flies through the air. And this is all exaggerating. Obviously, it's not like flying through the air at a 45-degree angle, but there is an angle, and that angle varies. And different lots of ammunition, especially M855 is especially prone to it for a couple of reasons. One is that the bullet construction isn't homogeneous, so different lots of bullets can have more or less variance in yaw angle at than other lots of bullets. Then in addition to that, M855 is very sensitive to both velocity and angle of attack at impact in regard to whether or not it fragments. So M855 is more likely to fail to fragment due to lower velocity, or because it's more likely to fragment if the greater the angle, the greater the yaw angle is at impact, the more likely any bullet is to fragment and to fragment quickly. But because M855 is less than consistent, the yaw angle varies a lot, and that results in significant variations in terminal effect. That you add in all of these different variables that are not being controlled, and then in the field you see skinnies get shot up like 5 or 6 times and don't go down, and like one other guy gets shot like one time and he's just like dick in the dirt right now, because sometimes M855 fragments and sometimes it doesn't. Shit. Getting way behind now. Well, yeah, let's argue. I love diabetes too. Okay, the spirit could hear the opinions. All right. Any recommendations? Oh, you're okay. Well, yeah, good thing you're asking then, because I don't know fuck all about M1 Garand's. I'm gonna grab. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have any problem. So the one thing that shotgun brings to a fight is a just a terrifying amount of tissue damage. Like per shot, the tissue damage is just not comparable to 5.56 at all. But it's the problem of getting repeated hits, and a fight isn't a day at the range, and you when you're trying to put bullets into somebody who desperately doesn't want bullets put into them and is trying to put bullets into you at the same time, and everything's moving very quickly and it's dark and it's difficult, um, the you're going to have a lot better chance of surviving if you're able to have a lot more chances at putting rounds into that person. And it's not just total rounds in the magazine, it's how many holes, how fast, it's how many hits can you get in 1.5 seconds. Another way to put it is how many holes can you put in the bad guy? You have the rest of your life to do it. Whoever's able to get those hits faster has a longer life to figure out the problem. Are you going to make more 357? I think you meant 357 Magnum carbine ammo videos. Yes, I am. And I just finished editing a semi-jacketed hollow point Remington 158 grain for ARFCOM. I'm not sure when that'll be scheduled. Probably just a couple of weeks. A1 was designed to kill souls. That's a fact. It actually M855A1 not only kills the enemy's soul, it transfers the soul to the karma wallet of the operator, and once he has enough, he can level up. And it's kind of like the Highlander, where he like takes the essence of the Haji, like, and yeah, that's how that works. Pretty sure your videos are made by a kid. Yeah. Well, you're not wrong there. I've gone through combat using my saw with A1, 3-round burst on a Haji, and he ran away, bled out later. Like you said, though, that's just one scenario, not definite data point on the round. Yeah, I'm with you. Aim for the hips. Yeah. Shoot him in the dick. Didn't hit the hip bone if he was still walking. Well, probably. Can you explain the wounding mechanism of rifle rounds at very low velocities, such as 5.56 at 700-800 meters when impact speed is less than? Yeah, I mean, all right, so the question is, can you explain the wounding mechanism of rifle rounds at low velocities, such as 5.56 at 700 or 800 meters when impact speed is less than Mach 1? Short answer, it's like a pistol bullet. I mean, yes, it was fired from a rifle, but as I was talking about earlier, that speed now, it's not a kind of splitting hairs 1,900 feet per second or 2,300 feet per second. It's way below that 2,000 foot per second general rule of thumb threshold, and it's the temporary stretch cavity is not remotely large enough to cause distal tearing from the wound track. So it is, for all intents and purposes, it is essentially a pistol round. Some extremely well-made bullets can still expand at those lower speeds. I don't know if you saw that test I did years ago with the downloaded 62 grain fusion, where it was still expanding. And granted, this is at 1,700 feet per second. Excuse me. 1,700 feet per second is still a bit faster than in the case you gave, but some bullets can still expand at lower velocities. I'd be surprised if any rifle bullet can still expand at less than 1,000 feet per second, unless it was such a lightly constructed bullet that it doesn't meet minimum penetration requirements at close range. I'd say, short answer, they're essentially small caliber pistol bullets. We were shooting hyenas with green tip and 10.3s at about 50 yards. We had horrible performance, mostly just caliber sized X wounds. Okay, so that puts a lot more information in there. So it wasn't just a hyena; it was like a bunch of them, and you had a comparison there between A1 and an M855. And I Jack's complete lack of surprise. M855 is known to be less than ideal, especially 50 yards from a 10.3 inch. Them the signs point to yes. But thank you for adding that, because that's more icing on top of the M855A1 cake. Temporary cavity of 308 rounds significantly larger than 556. Well, it depends on bullet construction. Um, it can be absolutely like a 155 grain AMAX is a fucking travesty. It's like a war crime went off in there. It's fucking nasty. I wonder if Brass Fetcher has go to the YouTube, the tubes of the U. Brass Fetcher. Let's see. 308. Yeah, there's some good stuff on there. Go to Brass Fetcher's channel and search 308. There's a 150 grain fusion. There's 168 grain Sierra Match King. Lots of good stuff on there. You can, I mean, you'll see some of the loads in 7.62 by 51 are, the temporary stretch cavity isn't that much different than a 5.56, but yeah, some of them are profoundly different. Have you ever seen the videos where some students filled hollow point pistol rounds with chemicals that explode, react with? No, that sounds shitty and like a bad idea. Why are most 223 55 grain rounds shorter overall length than 5.56 equivalent, such as AE 223 versus XM 193? I'm not sure. I don't know. I would guess because 223. So theoretically, the external dimensions of the two cartridges are the same, kind of. The chamber dimensions are different because the 5.56 has a longer lead area, and of course, 5.56 can be loaded to higher pressures than 223 Remington. But I would guess mainly probably because those rounds are, because they're designed for 223, they don't care as much about feeding in semi-auto rifles. They're probably intended for bolt action, so the cartridge overall length isn't as critical. And being 223, being lower pressure, there's more case volume, so they can seat the bullet lower. But why? I don't know. Uh, Assuming the same bullet length, of course. I don't know. No, read that. Why are pistol bullets able to expand at around Mach 1 with threshold for? Because they're designed that way. Why are pistol bullets able to expand at around Mach 1 while the threshold for rifle rounds is usually much higher? Because lead alloys aren't all the same. Nobody uses just pure lead in a bullet. It's always alloyed with something, typically antimony, antimony, tin. There are some other elements that they may use in the alloy, but those the different alloys have different properties. They're harder or softer, more or less brittle. Same thing goes for the copper alloy that's used for the jacket material. And there's a lot of variation in width of the cavity, depth of the cavity, the depth of the pre-fail cuts in the jacket. There's just so many different variables that go into the design of a bullet, and all of those added up together will result in a bullet that expands enough at the velocity that you want it to function at, within the velocity range that it's intended to function at. If you want a bullet to expand but not just blow apart at, say, 2,800 feet per second, then it's probably not possible to design it in such a way that it's capable of doing that, but then that it could also expand at, say, 900 feet per second. It's just because physics, I guess, that you can't have both things. You can optimize the bullet to work in this velocity range or this range, but it can't do both. I went to buy war crime ammo. Right? If you're 30, you're not a boomer. Well, I think 30 is Zoomer. I think. Isn't 30 a Zoomer? Oh, is it? Is millennial after X? Huh. I get them mixed up. I'm X. Don't give a shit about any of that. Would it be advantageous to have a 5.56 rifled round that could expand well at extreme distances, such as 600 meters? I mean, if you had a need, if you're like, I hunt the rare, I don't know, fuzzy beast of eastern Turkestan, and those shots are always going to be at like 500 or 600 meters and never any closer, then I guess kind of maybe. But if all of your shots are going to be at 600 meters, then why are you choosing a 5.56? If you plan to engage a target at 600 meters, then it seems like another caliber might be a better choice. And anything that you could do to optimize terminal performance at 600 meters is going to result in reduced performance at closer range. So, I mean, could you? Yeah, probably, but I don't think that would be ideal. If you need a 5.56 at 600 yards, you need a bigger gun. Kind of. I mean, if you have a 5.56 and a target shows up at 600 yards, you can get the deed done. But yeah, if you plan on all of your targets being at like 600 yards, 5.56 might not be the best choice. Okay, I think I'm caught up, so I need to get off of here before you guys add any more questions. I love you. Oh, shit. That is useful at getting hits that far. Bullets still tumble that far, even though they... Yeah, well, yaw is a better word than tumble, but yeah, you're absolutely correct that that say a 77 grain Sierra Match King is still going to yaw when it impacts, and it'll cut a wider path as it travels sideways than it would just point forward. And likewise, that wider path, because the 77 grain bullet is longer when it's traveling sideways, it's going to cut a wider path as it's yawing than say a 62 grain full metal jacket. But okay, enough of that. Ellen, it's not even Christmas, let alone Valentine's Day. So I love you.